You embarrassed me in front of her. You embarrassed me in front of her. Wait, I was the kingpin at first. What happened here?
I do the better D'Onofrio.
You do. He's been quoting that for a couple weeks, and now I fucking know what that is.
I haven't been the only one. People would come up, and whenever Daredevil would get brought up, half the time I would just hear somebody say, "You embarrassed me in front of her," if you even mention the word Kingpin or Wilson Fisk.
Boy, talk about a totally different Kingpin. Then, well, you know, okay, so I know the Kingpin in the comic, I know he's, the Kingpin from the comic I remember, not in the look necessarily like skin color, but certainly in the way he acted was a little bit more like the movie. This one is a little bit more fascinating because, A, they're introducing him in a way you would not normally introduce a character like this, which I like when they do that.
He's like Kaiser Soze for the first 3 episodes, like, he did... No one sees him. No one.
And then you see him, and
all you hear is his name, and
he's like kind of awkward and shy on dates and stuff like that. Like, and you know, you see him smash a guy's head. I was like, okay, well, he's kind of a thug too. And the funny thing is that I'm interested to see where it goes from here because this is an interesting trick I see, mostly movies, but some shows do, where their introduction of a character is not necessarily what you're going to see the majority of the time. Which sometimes throws me off a bit, but at the same time, it's enjoyable to go back and rewatch it again, because it's not necessarily, this isn't who the character isn't either, it's that we're showing you an aspect that you wouldn't be familiar with. It catches you off guard, which I like. Because I'm sure we're going to see him as the crime boss, and he knows what he's doing, and he can be a little nuts, and he's, you know, actually very strong in what he does.
Little nuts.
Well, no, but I mean, like...
He took a guy's head off with a car door.
No, but he had to get where he is somehow. There has to be this strength and this confidence
for
to
me,
him in there.
He is one of probably the scariest villains I've seen in a TV show in a long time. Or even a movie, because he gives off this... I can't describe. A lot of people will say it's... he's acting kind of autistic or on the spectrum, and that may be the means with which D'Onofrio is trying to kind of tap into the character, but I feel like there's something a little more going on underneath there. In the pauses, it's not to me just like, oh, he's acting like somebody with autism. It's almost like in every pause there's a suppressed rage. Like he just will pause and think. And like you kind of wonder what's going on there in that pause. It's almost like he's suppressing something, and like it's nerve-wracking from the beginning that there's something just kind of off about whatever's going on in that head whenever, you know, he kind of pauses. And then that scene comes out of nowhere at the end of this episode, and it's so brilliant because pretty much from this point on, at least for me, seeing it, having seen it already, I'm just freaking terrified of this guy, like, throughout because you never know at what point he's gonna snap like that again.
Well,
like, it was just such and over something so, what appears kind of, to most people, a little bit more on the meaningless side, like starting a whole mafia war, which it seems clear that this may have been kind of an end game for him eventually anyway. But to just lose it like that and to just, like, take a guy's head off with a car door, like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, I think that's what makes it such an interesting introduction, because, like I said, the Kingpin, I think we both kind of know that we've seen it, you know, in Spider-Man and in Daredevil and stuff. I mean, he is, I don't know, how do I describe it? Like, in the cartoon, he was voiced by... Oh, Frollo, what's his name? Forgetting his name.
Tony J.
Yeah, Tony J voiced him, and it was kind of the Tony J persona, except he was also very, very strong. You know, he was large, but he was also very strong, too. But he was calculating and thinking and stuff like that. He's what you would think of when you hear the word Kingpin. He's like the Godfather. He's all this stuff. But in this one, they introduce him in a totally different light that you wouldn't expect. And I think you're probably right. Now, I'll admit, now I'm looking forward to the strategy and the planning. I'm looking forward to seeing that, because I didn't get any of that in this episode, but that's part of what makes it so interesting, is now knowing that he can snap over something like this, he'll be more interesting to watch.
It's scary. And the thing is, it works in two levels because you feel like there was almost a build-up to it because he's always been talking strangely, and he has this, particularly when he looks at Vanessa, he has this intense look. You know, at the dinner table scene, she's kind of looking away or she fiddles with her hair a little. Whenever he talks, there's always just...
See, I don't know if I always saw that. I would see him look down.
I don't know. I felt like whenever he had something important to say, like he would like click on, and then you'd get this stare.
Well, I got the way you put it was that the suppressed or repressed rage is definitely in there, like waiting to come out, and you can. It looks like he's trying to.
It finally comes out, so you're kind of waiting for it, and now that you know that it's there and that it can turn on and off in an instant, like it kind of it colors everything from here on out, because any normal scene you're in, if anybody's crossing him or something, you're going to be sitting there going, is this going to be the next time he snaps? You just never know. And you know he's capable of doing this on a deep personal level, just to somebody like, he's been hiring goons to do his dirty work, but now we know he'll just take your head off himself.
Well, there's and I think that's what makes it so interesting that you have, not only was that whole restaurant, I mean, everybody in there got up. I mean, like, everybody.
So the whole thing's kind of staged.
So it's not only is he that powerful, he has people everywhere, and he can pay them all. Even
but he's that uncomfortable that he has to do it.
He's that uncomfortable that he has to do it. But also that in most movies or shows where they do something like this, where the big bad guy kills someone, it's a thug, it's a henchman, maybe kind of a big name. They established pretty early on, I think, really from episode 1, that the brothers are two huge names. And by doing this and killing this guy and pretty much starting this war, again, you're kind of saying to yourself, well, okay, they don't usually do that so early. They usually let it build up a little bit. So to start off like that, it's like, okay, well, where's it going to go from here?
Well, not only is it like a lot of times, they're a thug, they're a henchman, but man, when he like just is done there, and like I love Wesley sitting in the car just staring, just you know, as the guy's like, ugh! And he's like, and then just gets out and he's like, whatever. Like, you know, the two of them together, I'm just like, what a couple of psychopaths. And it's not just that he's a thug, it's that the way he walks and carries himself, it's this strange dichotomy of he is so uncomfortable sometimes in his own skin, but he also walks, he's almost like a gorilla. Like, he just struts with this animal-like stride that he's like a monster. Like, it's almost like a movie monster, something beyond just like, oh, the Kingpin's a common thug, or oh, he's just a criminal who's just above it all, won't get his hands dirty. He is just one of the scariest motherfuckers I've seen in a show.
If you told me this guy, like, if you didn't tell me this guy led a big crime, like he was the #1 guy, the leader of a crime ring and stuff like that, I would probably think more about this guy kind of like watching Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Like, we're studying a killer, a psychopath, but not necessarily a crime boss, and that's why I'm so interested in seeing the rest of it, because they have built him up. This is his introduction, and now it's like, well, okay, so now I got that side. That it's usually the other way around. They show the business side and the professional side and why he's at the top. And the point where they break or they go sloppy or nuts or whatever is like, whatever, half a season in, if even that, maybe even more. So it's interesting
this was
they switch
the whole
it around.
Personal story first.
Yeah,
it's him on a date. It's him looking at art.
It's the exact opposite.
It's him killing somebody.
How you would
the business stuff
was
all handled on the side by Wesley. You see, there's very little. There's a conversation or two between Fisk and Wesley.
I think just one
wise.
in the car, and it's very quick. Yeah. It's very short. You barely see it, and he's off on his date.
It works because you now get a feeling for him as a character, which then informs his business dealings. And like, we've learned a couple of important things. One, obsession with control. He had full control over the restaurant. Losing control made him go nuts. Appearing embarrassed made him go nuts.
Yeah, definitely.
He's got a self-image thing. And that control spills over into what he's doing, because he was talking about how he wants to like remake this neighborhood and everything, and he's like, well, you didn't grow up here, and so it seems to be control and manipulation is going to be a big part in this, and he's controlling all the other families and wants to start a war, and so this is the beginning of a theme, I think, with him. But yeah,
you know, it's one of those. I think it's a weird comparison. When I saw Fish Call Wanda, and you see Kevin Kline with Michael Palin. The second Michael Palin starts stuttering, he just gives this look like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to put up with that. And most movies would wait until about the halfway point for him to start to get annoyed. But he immediately gets annoyed, starts making fun of him, starts mocking him, and just immediately attacks this guy, just for his stuttering being so cruel, where most movies would wait along, like the halfway point and do it. And again, I think I like a show or a movie that'll just be like, no, you know what's coming, so we're going to jump to it, and we're going to add a little extra. Now we'll give you sort of the stuff you thought was coming, but we're going to sort of switch it around, and now you're going to be really uncomfortable watching it, because it's like, oh, okay, this stuff I know, but man, I remember that shit you opened up with, and that's going to be going around my head when I'm watching this guy, I'm sure, do his, his business dealings, and also start a war, it looks like. So yeah, no, he really looks the part, he even sounds the part.
I like that he's wearing black instead of white. I honestly find it a hell of a lot scarier. And I like it. I like his portrayal. It's different than Ving Rhames, who Ving Rhames is one of the things in the movie that I actually really did like.
No, I love Ving Rhames.
Ving Rhames to me is a little more. There's kind of two different Kingpins. The earlier Kingpin was a little goofier, and that strikes me as the more Ving Rhames kind of Kingpin.
That's what I want.
The big schemes and this and that. The later Kingpin was a little, not quite like this, but closer to this, a little more down to earth, not big into like giant death traps and goofy sort of schemes, but way more into this sort of criminal empire running that you see here. And so, yeah, it works. Scary. The rest of it...
the rest of it's good.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. They abduct Claire in order to get a name, and then Daredevil kicks some ass. Which I really like. Again, it's kind of like the Batman I kind of want, where it's like it was all attacked in the dark, and the voice is kind of scary.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that voice. They obviously added a little bit of bass or treble to it, but I think that's a good example of how you can do a Batman voice and not have to have it really grumbly. I'm not just talking about Christian Bale. I mean, a lot of people, when they try to do a Batman voice, they try to make it really dark and mysterious, and the only one who didn't really is Conroy, who made it, in a very
which is what this voice reminds me of,
and this one is very, very articulate and very strong, but also just enough to be intimidating. There's this confidence to, I am a fucking badass, but I am also in the shadow.
This is very matter of fact, just like, put the gun down now, or you're never going to use that freaking hand again.
I'm walking out here. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Yeah, that was right. No, you're not. But it's just this voice you hear from the corners. It's so funny. Like, the Flash is the Marvel show I always wanted, and Daredevil's the DC kind of thing. It's funny how this is working out, but I like it. I like that they're both thinking out of the box. Really, I kind of am more interested in the TV work now.
Yeah. Well, the TV's amazing right now. I mean, we've said this a million times, but it's really exploding. We're kind of at a new golden age right now. And it's because of shows like this and characters like these. I mean, these are all really great characters. I was trying, even again Rosario Dawson. She's really she's support. She's every supportive character you've seen in million other superhero movies. But by God, every time she's talking, she says, feel my heart. It's beating fast because I am afraid. I've never been more afraid in my life, but we all are, and you can do something. It's like, I'm really listening to her, and I am totally on board with her, and I think it's, it's decent writing, but it's like, it really is the performance. These are good performers in this show.
They're good, solid performances. I think the other thing between Fisk taking out the Russian and Karen Page getting attacked in episode 1 and now Rosario Dawson, there is like a sense of anyone's a target. Which I think makes it even scarier. We're talking about why do you feel so isolated and alone watching this show. It's almost like shows about a government conspiracy or something where everything is stacked against you and there's nothing you can do because they know everything about you. They can do whatever they want. Everything operates in the shadows. And yeah, I feel like just every single person's a target. Like anybody Murdoch runs into, including his own damn self.
Well, and here's the last thing I'll say because I have to get going into this. But when they have... okay, you always hear, you're being watched, there's spies everywhere. You hear that in every show, every movie. In this one, you feel it because, A, it doesn't open up with people watching or people looking behind the corner or something like that. It's just, that person over there, he's a guy. That woman over there, she's also with him and stuff like that. You know, and they'll you never see him turn around, you never see him do anything. And at the restaurant, that whole time, all those people were in on it. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that. It's this wonderful sense of you legitimately do not know going into a scene who's watching you, and now you're starting to become comfortable with the fact that you are always being watched.
It's what ninja should be.
Yeah.
Like, not guys in black outfits throwing, you know, Chinese stars or whatever, even though they're Japanese. But, you know, plain-clothed sort of people. Like, your best friend could be totally on the take and stab you in the back. Like, it could be anybody. Like, he's bought the neighborhood, pretty much.
Yeah.
Perhaps the whole city.
This really is dark, disturbing, uncomfortable, and comic book done right.
And there's no major heroes. I love that line. I had forgotten about that line where it's just like, oh, well, you know, I would understand if it was some god with a hammer or some guy in an iron suit, you know, but this is some guy with a black mask. I think it really hammers in, pardon the pun, hammers in the fact that this is all bottom of the barrel, grassroots criminal. Like, this is too shadowy and off the radar. Or under the radar for your major superheroes. They're off battling aliens or doing whatever they're doing in Age of Ultron or, you know, like, so really who's left? Like, this is really the garbage collecting of, you know, superhero stuff going on, but it's beyond important, and that's why these criminals are getting away with it. Because they're just so under the radar and it's so not seemingly important.
Well, I think we've both been getting a lot of flack for people saying, like, people accusing us that, you know, we're angry that you can't make a dark, you know, superhero movie or show or whatever
now.
No. And it's like, no, you can, but it has to be smart, it has to be different, it has to be challenging. It can't be everything that we see a million times. It can't be, you know, so blatant and explanatory. It has to have a combination of everything, and the show really does. It's a good balance.
The best part of this show, some of the best parts, are like The Dark Knight, which is a city story. And I like that aspect of it. And for people who are just like, oh, you guys can't think of the dark... The Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies.
Love Batman.
I love Batman Begins. I love Tim Burton's Batman. You know, I didn't like Man of Steel because I don't think it was anywhere near dark enough. If you're going to go dark, go all out dark, but don't half-ass it. But that's neither here nor there. No, I love dark things.
Yeah, Sin City. I love Sin City, and that's stupid.
Yeah,
dark.
I like. I like Sin City too. You know, and ironically, this is Marvel giving us dark, and ironically, I really like The Flash, and I consider that lighter, and that's DC giving us that. So I'm not skewing towards one or the other here.
Yeah, no, it should just do it right, do it intelligent, and try something new, balance it out, you know, and I think that's what they're doing. I think it's definitely shown because it's a big hit and people want to see more of it. And we will see more of it next time.
Yeah, that thing.
You embarrass me in front